right, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. And today we have Mo and
Ayomide. Seriously, why are you making me do this?
Just answer the question, damn it.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Mo and
Ayomide.
there you have it. So Ayomide is back. Today we're talking about a topic that we love to talk about. And it's a TV show. So for those of you who yet to watch it, spoiler alerts. Okay? So if you haven't watched the series we're going to be talking about today, this is your cue to go watching. All the alerts, because, this is just two nerds, one bigger than the other, just gushing about the TV show.
Should we have a non-spoiler section before we start? And then we'll get into
Yeah.
We're just going to dive in. We're just going to dive head first.
You know how we do it. Yeah, we're already giving them the warning. So, yeah. Because if you haven't watched it by now, it's like you had it coming. Like I would say. So, you
deserve whatever you get.
You deserve what you get is what you gonna get. Okay? So we're diving into Shogun, which was a book, actually, a novel that was written by James Clavell. And it's based in 17th century Japan. The setting, is a time of, I guess, political intrigue, we can call it that, cultural clashes, and form of Western influence. And the term Shogun, so I don't know a lot about Japanese culture, as you can tell. So if you're a true Japanese person listening to this, apologies for all the way I'm going to be butchering the names. But I'll try my best to not do that.
Because it's not Korean, right?
It's not Korean, yeah. I'm going to be struggling a lot. And even just the nuances. And I tried not to do that thing where I was seeing some similarities, especially in the communication, which I'll talk about in a bit. But I was also very careful to do this very respectfully. So all that to say, Shogun is, the term refers to military rulers of Japan who held power between a century to the whites. They had like a wide, domination over Japan. And it means, commander-in-chief and they were nominally appointed by the emperor. These were like de facto rulers of the country, and they had significant political and military power, right? And they actually had a series which was aired, I think, in 1970 something. But this recent one by FX is just bringing everyone off the park.
Yeah.
It's 12 episodes.
I don't even know anything about this series, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Like, I don't know that it was well received or anything.
Oh, are you kidding me? Yes. You should. Okay, so every time, let me tell you what I do every day. Every time there's something in my life that I'm passionate about, I find a Reddit community to join. So you need to get yourself on Reddit, because my goodness.
See, I've done that for too many things already. So
do you know how many communities? How many communities I'm a part of? Like,
I know.
I hope I don't commit a crime in the future, because I live like paper trails everywhere. I hardly engage of this community. I'm only very active. When I say active, like posting, I only have a Korean community that I'm very, very active on. I'm actually one of the moderators. Mm-hmm. But the other ones are more of I just digest information. I hardly post on there. But yeah, so we're talking about Shogun, okay? It's on FX or Hulu for my American people, or FX. I don't know where you guys get it on in the UK.
It's just Disney Plus. We just have Disney Plus. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. Disney Plus did that affiliation with Hulu, so otherwise you wouldn't be getting
Hulu,
it.
No, because the thing is, because Hulu is not abroad.
Yes.
Hulu is strictly US.
Yes.
So Disney has this thing called Star outside the US, which is basically Hulu for non-US people. But then the thing is that outside the US, Star is just one of the channels within Disney. So in Disney, you have Marvel, you have Star. Like when you enter your Disney, you have Marvel, you have Star Wars, you have Nat Geo, and then we have Star.
You don't have. Okay, I see. We have Star here, though. We have Star, but there's also the premium part of it, yeah, which I hardly watch.
Star with Disney.
No, not Star with Disney. Like Star separate, like a standalone.
No, the Star that you have, is it the Star that Disney has, or is it a different Star? That's what I'm asking.
I think it's a different Star, because this was before Disney.
Yeah, so this is a Star. This is a Star that is actually a Disney brand.
Oh, I see.
So that's where Hulu shows go outside the US.
Okay. And do you guys
FX
get everything?
Shows go there as well. So
you get everything?
Star is basically like if you have kids in the house, you turn off Star.
All makes sense, because that kind of
your Disney.
with that kind of stripper name, you gotta turn it off. Sorry, no offense to
You leave
anybody.
all the rest of your Disney on, and it's like, it's not like you can choose it, but like when you select the age thing, Disney basically shuts Star down.
Oh, that's why. I see.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
So all your Hulu, all your FX, like the Bear.
Oh yeah,
That
you
was
don't
where
have.
that's so I watch it. So for us, it's just Disney. Whereas for you guys, it's like Hulu and this whole. Although I heard recently they tried to merge Hulu. They merged Hulu and Disney in the US.
Yes, they did.
It was
that.
very funny because for us it was like, that's just our life.
Do you know when I traveled to the UK in March and I couldn't get Hulu? I had to use my VPN. It was so uncomfortable having to switch in between stuff. Like, thank you guys.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, Shogun.
The other thing we don't get, by the way, is HBO, which is very annoying. But we get HBO through Sky. So again, it's just American things because you guys just think of yourselves, and then once it's like, oh, America has
Hello,
it, you don't
America.
even think about anybody else.
Exceptionalism, you know.
So the rest of us that want to watch these things, we're like,
Get your
like,
VPN.
No, that's like, it's like we want to pay. Let us watch, and you're like, no. We're like, take our money.
And I think you EU, for example, you have very strict internet laws. You know, like all these cookies and privacy laws that US will not want to confront. Do you know how many?
Well, at the moment, we have HBO through Sky. So Sky basically has the license for HBO outside the US.
Great. Man.
And I think that's going to last for another 2 years before they may. And I think it's just because it's harder for US companies, like you said, to set up. And like the US is such a big market, they're just happy and they don't even bother.
But when I traveled to the UK, a lot of my apps had to reset. Like I had to start accepting settings, and I'm like, US never used to ask for my permission about cookies. It was de facto, like you always got the cookies, you know, and the privacy laws and all that. Yeah. Which I think is interesting. Okay, let's get back to Shogun. Ayomide, wow. Okay, I think I mentioned this on the live episode we did together. It took me a month to finish this. And it wasn't because it was a slow movie. I needed that month to like process every episode because every episode for me felt like a movie. The cinematic experience, the picture quality, just even the dialogue.
Oh my goodness. The photography of that show. My Lord. Honestly, it was something else. The photography was something else.
Look at us just gushing about it.
Was like firing on every cylinder.
Your emotions, like
you know when you say a show is nailing it with the acting, with the performances, with the story, with the themes,
everything,
with the
man.
Photography, with everything. The music,
and the silence,
the sound design,
and the silence, and the characters. Man. Everybody ate their roles.
No, it was. I've known Anna Sawai for a while, but honestly, I've not seen her shine like. It's like oh my God, this girl has not. They've not given her anything to shine with before. Because what is this? And
she played Mariko, by the way, for those who might wonder who Anna Sawai is.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Like what's his name? The guy that played Toranaga. He is well known.
Hiroshi said something. There's I'll find it. Just keep going.
He is a well-known figure. Like he's
He's
he was even a producer on the show and everything.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yes, Sanada. Anna Sawai is like, we know her, but we don't hear Anna Sawai and think awesomeness. You just hear Anna Sawai and be like, yeah, I know her. I've seen her in a couple of things.
There's a Fast Five, Pachinko, F9, Monarch. Yeah.
And I feel like she's bad in those things. Like I've seen all of those shows, right?
But like she didn't really have that prominence. You know what I mean?
I think it is the difference between not just having the prominence
and then going back home, the cultural. Yeah.
I think it's also having something that actually calls something out of you.
Yes.
Because let's be honest, like look at those shows you just mentioned. What do you want to do with those shows? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like there's Pachinko is the only one of those shows that there's something to chew on.
And she can't be herself, like fully herself, because it's still about Korea and, you know, and
But like, no, I think the rest of those shows, there's just not much for her to chew on. Do you know what I mean? Whereas this was a show that was like, everybody had to like be on top of their game.
Man.
And like, this show is demanding so much in terms of like the looks, It's like the girl that played Fuji. I've never seen that girl before.
No,
but the
but
looks,
man.
the looks.
If eyes could talk, and I think as a Nigerian, I could really,
Forget
really
if
find to
eyes could
that.
talk. Eyes were
If
talking.
body, yeah.
Eyes were
And
talking.
you know the
Like
frustration
that girl,
of trying to exactly.
all the biggest memes from that show are coming from Fuji. You know it. You just know it.
Yeah.
It's Fuji memes all the way down.
Hey, before we turn our listeners into third wheelers, how can we structure this conversation? Because between you and we're not very responsible.
Yes.
We know when it comes to things like this, we'll lose half of the room.
Yeah, we're just going all over the place because there's so much about. I think let's take it from. Should we take it? I feel like we should go through the characters.
Let's do that.
But I feel like before we, and then maybe when we finish, we should just say so. But I think before we go through the characters, let's just. So I think before we go to the characters, let's just say something about some of the aspects of the show. Okay. So let's talk about the cinematography. Let's talk about the
I mean, my phone didn't cut it for me anymore. I had to blast on my TV
have to watch
screen.
You have to watch that show on the best screen you've got.
My phone used to be the thing I watched most of things because
you
of
have to watch it
portability.
It deserves the best screen you've got because it's so beautifully so this is the thing about Shogun. It's so beautifully shot. It is beautiful. It is and then not just so like there's two things about science, right? There's the beauty of it,
yes,
but then there's also like the choices of the shots.
The angles that they focus on,
and the way they block,
some things that are not
characters.
Yes. Fade them
how they position them within, and it's just there's so much. So basically, and I think to talk about this, we're gonna have to talk about the themes of Shogun, right? Shogun is a show about
culture and faith.
It's a show about
communication.
So I feel like culture and faith it's
still lackluster.
Actually, I think what Shogun is really about is about like. What does it mean to live fully in a setting where life can be short and precious?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. But then underneath that is like it's exploring. I won't say this is a theme per se. It's a theme, but I think it's not asking this question. It's just exploring the ways we use language
to communicate. Yes.
But also to figure out life. And figure out relationships and figure out and then it's using this beautiful thing where, so a big part of Shogun, right, is the translation. And I've never seen a show use translation to such good effect.
No, but right? About that, by the way, it wasn't good.
No. Oh, there was something about the translation that I don't know if you know that they did.
What did they do? The let me see if it's the same thing.
The back and forth thing that they did.
Yes. And the I and the we perspective, especially when Mariko, depending on who she was talking to.
No, not just the I and the we perspective. So there was a thing where they got the Japanese of that time as much as they could.
Yes.
Which they had to look for people that knew it because so even people like Toruna,
yeah.
But like a lot of the younger actors, because I listened to a podcast that he was on, and it was like a lot of the younger actors they actually know.
Oh, there's a Shogun podcast, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. There's a whole podcast about Shogun, yeah.
And they didn't
How
know
did we know this?
Right? And so because they didn't know it, they had to do this thing. They had to get like a professionals in the old language, translate it, and say what they wanted to say in English, figure out how to say it in the old language, then get another group of people to translate it back to English. Not the same group as the first.
Back translation, of course, yeah.
Sorry, back to English.
Yeah.
And then that was what they then used
to do the
show. Yeah. And I feel like I've never heard of anybody going to that level of length to try and capture the thing right.
TV shows. Yes.
Do you know what I mean? For any show with language, period. I've never heard of anybody. So when you say it's bad, I'm really trying to understand like what was bad.
When I say bad, I mean, so with this context now, that person and I'm taking this from Reddit, which again, you have to so there was a thread that kind of set a lot of people talking, and it was about just how the transitions were done. But I think there was some layers to it, which we'll talk about in a bit. So whenever, depending on Mariko, they had the biggest issue with Mariko, which again, I could understand. Her character was such that she got straight to the point. So whenever she would interpret for like a Blackthorn versus Toranaga versus,
but that's exactly what Mariko does. She doesn't go straight to the point.
But it depends on who she was talking to. Like whenever
Yes, exactly.
Blackthorn was abusing Toranaga, for example,
Mariko was like the king of like not saying what was in her mind.
Yes, exactly. But when Blackthorn was mad at Toranaga about something, she just said, she didn't translate the insult, obviously, because she didn't want to come off as being disrespectful. She just went straight to whatever, Blackthorn was.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I don't even think it was to come off. I think it was to protect. So this is the thing that I love. It's like somebody says something. And this is why I said I love what they do with translation, because the translation itself is almost his own character. Somebody says something, Mariko translates it, and then the show shows you what the person said, and then you also see what Mariko
said, yeah.
But the show doesn't say it. But then it's not up to you, the viewer. So this is a show that so one thing about Shogun is it requires a lot of work from you as a viewer. Like, you can't watch Shogun with half your brain. You can't watch Shogun like and be checking Twitter. You're watching Shogun, you're like all in. Because you miss a look and you meet, like, it was so funny because I had a group of friends I was chatting about it with on a weekly basis. And I remember it was so interesting seeing people, and there was a particular person who always missed things. And it was so interesting because like, but that's obvious. And then you're not trying to explain this is how the show doesn't say it.
But it's implied.
It shows it. So if you're not paying attention, you miss
A
the
lot,
context that makes sense of so many other things to come. Do you know what I mean? And I wonder if there's a bit where people were, because like when Mariko would translate like that, the show leaves you with the question of why did she do it? The show doesn't tell you. And I think that when you think about it, for me, a lot of it was really to protect Blackthorn.
Mm-hmm. For me,
because you're like, if I say the thing you just said, that'll be the last thing you say.
No, there was a powerful, particularly, I think, masterful scene. This was, I think that scene really captured the beauty and I think difficulty of simultaneous interpreting. This was when, I think it was episode 6, Ladies of the Willow World, when Blackthorn and Mariko wanted
that was a beautiful episode. That was a beautiful episode.
With Kiko, yes, at the tea house,
because,
right?
Yes, because actually Kiko used that
as
a way for...
Kiko knew what she was doing.
Man, that was so beautiful.
Kiko knew what she was doing. And then, the photography, the way they layered it.
But the thing is that everybody understood what everybody else was doing with nobody saying anything.
Exactly.
Kiko knew what she was doing. Mariko knew the opportunity Kiko was giving her.
Yes.
And Blackthorn also understood
what was going on. Of course, the white man is always the last to get it.
To understand what was going on and to sort of like,
But did you see how they faded Kiko into the background, even though her words were still lingering on?
That's what I mean about the photography and the blocking and the like the way the characters are placed in the shot.
It was violence that day, but she was like, and then the overlapping of their voices. And how
it was because
that's and Mariko takes over, and then there was that.
That's the one time Mariko gets to say what she
was in her mind. Yes, and she was like, "I ask you into my openness. I ask you," and then she.
But then the other thing is that because there's a thing where language.
I mean, they were nerds. They were nerds. We're nerds. Look at us. Look at us. Look at us.
No, but like. No, but this is a show that it rewards paying attention, right? So, like for instance, language was their safe space. So this is a show where you have this woman, you have this man who speaks Portuguese, which is basically translated in show as English. Mm-hmm. There's basically no English in the show. Every time you hear English, it's Portuguese, really, which I find really interesting because there's actually no English in the show at all.
Yeah. Nobody's
speaking English.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you hear English, it's someone saying Portuguese, and then there is, although that's not true because sometimes Blackthorn is using English. But you can sort of know when. Yeah, but that's about the only time you hear English, and a couple of times when he talks to his sailors. But every other time is Portuguese. And they have this man who does not know any Japanese, but he knows Portuguese. And you have this man who knows Portuguese and Japanese.
And Japanese, and then,
And they have all of these people who know Japanese but no Portuguese.
Yeah.
And so Portuguese becomes their safe space where they can be honest with each other and they can say things to each other that nobody else understands.
Yeah.
And it just becomes this really beautiful thing, right? That they have that sort of safe space to communicate and to be honest. And especially for Mariko, who she's like this Lord. She's a very interesting character because she's like, she has honor, but she also doesn't have honor.
Because of her,
right?
Because
of her history. But she has honor because, like, at the end of the day, she's coming from a powerful family. And the show doesn't tell you this. You just sort of realize it as
with time,
go. It's like, initially, you're like, oh, this man looks special. Oh, no,
but
they don't treat her with respect. Wait, she's special.
I say,
what's going on?
And it depends on her relationship and who she's with, like with her husband. There's a way she comes off as
she's like
less than, but you don't realize that it's a deliberate move on her part, right? With Toranaga, she's different. With Blackthorn, and then when she started shining towards the end, when she left the castle and said, "I cannot be held down here. I am blah blah," and I'm like, whoa.
Oh, whoa, that was like a Gravito moment.
Exactly. It was like a Scar moment. It was like a Lion King moment for me. I am here.
It was so beautiful, honestly. And then you see this woman, who can't be honest about, and she talks about the eightfold fence, right?
Yes,
which is like it's like that's the show basically telling you this is the theme of the show.
Yes.
That's like the show literally telling you this is the thing. That's one of the few times when the show is very upfront,
very straightforward.
And it's like, look, this is what we're doing, and some people still missed it. And it's like, but this is literally the theme of the show. The theme of the show is that what fence are we dealing with right now? And with Blackthorn, she's able to come out of the fence to a level where she doesn't get to with anybody else in the culture, and not even because Blackthorn is a special person, but just because he's different.
Yes,
and he doesn't have any of our cultural context. So he won't judge her in that same way. He won't see her in that same way, and so she's free to be a certain way with him that she can't be with anyone else.
But the conflict, yes, when he started learning more about her culture and all that, you can see that there was a conflict coming. And yes. So again,
and
that
then he also
factor
respects her in a way that she's not used to.
From a man.
The only other person who treats her with any kind of respect is Toranaga himself.
Yeah. But Toranaga, you realize that was using her. Which again, I have my
Toranaga is using
everybody. Toranaga he was my least favorite person.
He's a user. But you see, I love the character too, because the show somehow makes him a sympathetic character.
But towards the end, right quick, Babai, especially when it's Yabushige died. Do me.
No, but the thing I love about Toranaga is he's a user, but everybody gets the game. And everybody.
Why am I the one dying for you?
Sorry?
No, like Yabushige's death for me was senseless. But I understood it, but for me, that was the most painful one.
No, but this is the thing. Like, this is the thing where, because the other aspect of the show is like, what is life and death about, right? And the idea of what is a meaningful death and a meaningful life.
Man, that time was a bit awful. People didn't just killing themselves like that.
But again, this is the thing. Like, I think it's a combination of that, but also a combination of that and also like, the cultural belief. So like, I feel like there's some of our reaction to that whole ethos that's coming from sort of a Christian way of thinking about life and death. Do you get what I mean? And if you're coming from a different sort of set of beliefs, then you're thinking about all of that differently. And so for me, it was just really interesting to see what are the things I take for granted as coming from a Christian perspective that actually maybe it's not that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so this made sense.
Yeah.
Especially and so I can disagree with it while also appreciating
acknowledging that's how they were. Yeah.
You get, exactly.
I think if I could choose one thing that I feel like this is about, I think it's about relationships really. And how you are not just yourself. You're not an individual. You have to also consider your relative value. The people around you give you value as a person. And they can easily tell you.
That's something that in an individualist culture,
that was
almost like you almost, I think for many people, that would be the hardest thing to deal with.
Exactly. Like, someone can just say, go and commit seppuku and that's it. And you take it with honor. Like, please let my death.
It's not just anybody that says it.
I know the person.
It's about relationship again.
I know.
It's who gets to say that.
Say it, yeah.
Right?
And it's not just, I know death is coming, but please, can you make my death meaningful? Like, are you kidding me? When did you all agree that we're going to die today?
But again, this is interesting because, like, I was listening to a podcast, right? And I was listening to N.T. Wright, and I've heard him say this many times, but it really hit me this time. And N.T. Wright, I don't know if you know N.T. Wright. He's like this English Anglican theologian. He's quite popular.
Yeah.
He writes some popular books as Tom Wright, but like his academic, it's very interesting because he's N.T. Wright and Tom Wright. But which name you see depends on whether it's an academic book or a popular book. which is sort of very interesting sort of way to process it. Anyway, he gets questioned a lot about, like, you know, like many Christian leaders will get about suffering and, you know, why is there so much suffering? How do we engage with suffering? And he said something I've never really heard anyone say, but it's like, oh, actually, that makes so much sense. It's like the thing about suffering that's interesting is that we live in a time in the world when we have the most order and the least chaos than humanity has ever had. And you wouldn't know that to read the internet and see how people talk. That's what I'm saying. People don't realize how good we have it. Like, it's so easy to see everything that's wrong, to not realize how much has improved, right?
Yeah.
Like, like someone pointed out one time, like, what a king was eating back in the day is not up to what you just get to eat in your house now, even if you're poor. Like, never mind the variety that's available to you. Like, it's incredible, right? And then he was going beyond this to say that one of the things that we forget, that people understood back in, like, people took suffering for granted. People took death for granted. People took for granted that you die fairly young. Right? Like, these were not big things to people because that was just life. And that a lot of the questions you have about suffering, like, not to dismiss those questions, but it's interesting how much of those questions come from the assumption that life is good in a way that was not the assumption for most of human history. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like, they knew life was hard. They didn't need someone to tell them life was hard. It was literally like,
it was always there. Yeah.
In fact, I was going to say you walk out. You didn't even have to walk out sometimes. You come to you and find your house. If you have a house. You know, and I think that's what the show is reminding us of as well. It's almost like, oh, there was a time when death was so, you know,
it was part of life. Yeah.
This is a place where life and death is short. Like, an earthquake can happen anytime and everybody just,
Everybody's
you don't know, anybody can just die and whoever dies. Right? Like, this is our reality. So, and then you sort of understand, oh yeah, that's why you want to have a meaningful death. It's like, I know death is coming and it may come tomorrow, but I hope that when it comes, it's meaningful. You know? And then you have that scene where Toranaga, like the great Toranaga, could have just died. Just like, you know, that earthquake happened and it was just like, and it was so random and just like, you know, just felt like, wow, this is just like, that could just have been the end. And it was almost like showing you that even he is so fragile in this world. Like, for all this planning, for all his, it's all it takes is one well-placed earthquake, and my guy.
And then I know. And then white man scoops in and saves the day. But then,
but that's the thing. I don't even think it was even about a white man scooping.
I know. I was just trying to be very silly about that. Yeah.
Because I love the bit where he gives him his sword and he's laughing.
Yes.
And it's this laughter that is almost like, I feel like it's a combination of he's laughing at the wonder that he's alive to see this, but also at the fact of like, look at the sword this guy is giving me, but also the fact that
the history
that's
behind
all
the sword.
He has to give.
Yes, and the history behind the sword too, because Mariko explained where the sword came from just, you know, since before then.
Yeah, and he knew.
Yeah. Toranaga knew. Yeah.
Like, the sword itself doesn't actually mean anything.
Can we talk about Lady Ochiba and her relationship with Mariko?
I thought that was a big aspect of the show,
which I wanted to see more of it.
I don't think I think I'm happy with what we got, to be honest with you. Because the show is about, like, in a way, it's almost like, I'll tell you what I'm happy with what we got. I think we want to see more because the show does it so well, but I feel like it's better the way it's done, where it's almost so like leave us wanting more.
Yeah, you can read also between the lines.
Yeah, but I think it's almost a case of like, these are two different ways they could have gone. And these are two different ways of a woman fighting for her place in this world. And one chooses this way and the other chooses that way. Do you know what I mean? And I thought that was really like, I really liked that. I really liked, like, because for Lady Ochiba, it was about getting power.
And holding on to power
through her son.
Through her son, yes.
Through her son. And I love how, like, so many scenes of the song, people will be like, the air is interested, the air said this. I mean, what the air is picking stones in the background.
Yeah. But I like...
Yeah, the air obviously doesn't know or care. We're just using the air to
use, of course, air, like the presidency too. How many times has the president even said anything? So I like how what I loved about what I was able to see about their relationship, like their point of convergence and divergence. But I wanted to see more. I can imagine that if my best friend's father killed my father, that's really gonna ruin the relationship for me, right? But I loved how their relationship for me is emblematic of just the broader themes of Shogun, like that theme of honor, of power, and personal sacrifice that both of them had to make. To really, and if you think about it, women, whether you were the consort who brought the heir to the kingdom and all that, your role was still seen as secondary. You know, let's not argue about that.
For every one of them, like it's like watching the woman fight for what's that name? Not Lady Cuckoo. The lady in charge of Lady Cuckoo. The owner of the inn of the geisha place.
Of the geisha, I forget her name. Yeah, it will come to us. But go on.
And to be fair, it wasn't geisha yet. But basically, what she was pitching to Toranaga was what would later become geisha.
Yes.
That was what she was pitching to.
Yeah.
But again, it's interesting. Like that was her way of fighting for something. Like, so it's interesting. Like you see all of these women each in their own way, sort of trying to plant their flag, right? In a world where it's so difficult to do that.
I think her name was Jean. I think her name was Jean. Jean. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Jean. Yeah.
Like, and like she's another character that you don't get a lot of her, but like the bits that she gets, it's so
especially when to go and buy that stick of time or whatever she bought with Toranaga. Yes. Toranaga, and they were talking, and she was like, "What do I know?" And I'm like, "Lady, you said it all." Yeah.
And I love that thing about like the way words have, and like, speaking of words having power. The scene when Black Thor realizes how much power words carry in this world. Do you remember?
Was it towards the end?
The gardener.
Oh, the one that
Where he just carelessly.
Nobody should move this down. I know.
And it's like that's the scene when he understands. After he's angry and cool down, he understands like, you can't just. You know, he's coming from a setting where you just throw words.
Value life, and life is valuable above all. Like life is valuable.
You just assume that life is valuable.
Yes, even though to the Japanese, life is also valuable. By the way, let's not.
But so many other things are valuable. Honor is valuable.
Yes,
right. And this is the thing. Like I remember. Have you ever read Jonathan Haidt's work?
No.
So I don't particularly.
Oh no, fantasy.
No, he's a psychologist. So his most recent book is called The Anxious Generation, where he's arguing that social media is why the mental health crisis, which there's different pushbacks on that. I don't really agree with it. I think it's highlighting a deeper underlying crisis. And I feel like social media is just the video games of our time. Like there's always something that everybody's like, it's going to destroy the kids. And it's like, but that's a whole other thing. Which is not to say it doesn't have issues, but like just like video games, I think the people who end up having issues with it are the people who are already having major issues already.
And
that's the thing that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
But that's a different issue. His previous book, though, his first book, is called The Moral Hypothesis. The Happiness Hypothesis. No. It's not that. I can't remember. It's something about morality. But it's basically about this idea that in the West, the only valid way of thinking about right and wrong is harm. Does it harm somebody? Right? And if it doesn't harm somebody, then we can't say that something is wrong. And his argument is that in history and in much of the rest of the world, there are so many other axes that people look at right and wrong through, including authority, including cleanliness, including a few other ones I can't remember. I think there were 4. And it's like in the West, it's literally just so it's almost like the moral language of the West is stunted. Right? And the example he uses one of the examples is like, imagine if a man had sex with a dead chicken. Is that right or wrong? And it's like every non-Westerner that gets that question is like, that is obviously wrong.
Wrong, but America said the chicken was already dead.
But for Westerners, it's like so it's like this is interesting thing. Like it feels like it's wrong, but I can't say it's wrong because I can't justify why it feels wrong. So it's almost like this thing where I can't trust my moral intuition. Right? There's my intuition is that it's wrong, but I can't trust that because based on the axis that I have, it's not wrong on that axis. The chicken is dead. So nobody's been harmed. Like literally nobody's been harmed. And yet, and it's such a wonderful question because it's a very like if your immediate reaction to that is not something along the lines of disgust. Right?
Something's wrong with you.
But it's what is interesting is what do you then do with that disgust? Do you dismiss it and be like, well, I suppose something's wrong with my moral intuition because clearly nobody's harmed? Or do you go like, no, something's wrong with that. I'm sorry, that is nasty, that is messy, that is gross. Right? And so I think there's an element where it's almost like that, where because again, life is about harm, right? If someone dies, somebody's harmed. And so life above all. But this is a group of people that for them it's like authority is also important.
Mm-hmm. And right? your relationship with other people. You're not just yourself.
And to them it's literally better to die honorably than to live dishonorably.
Yes.
Like it's not even a question. Right? And it's like there's something there that I admire. Like it's like what is life if it is not honorable? Like what is life for the sake of life? Basically, is the question there. Do you know what I mean? And like I feel like you can disagree with seppuku without dismissing that question because I think that's a very vital question. And so for Mariko, it was like, what is the point of me being alive when I'm just living in dishonor?
Yeah.
You know, and then obviously that's where the faith comes in. That's where these other aspects come into sort of, but like she's also still looking for like that reconciliation of like, what's my purpose? And that moment when she dies,
spoiler alert,
it's not
anything. Yeah.
That she chose.
Yes.
Because that's the other thing, right? And in a way, that's what seppuku is like. It's like, that moment where Yabushige in the beginning is going to kill himself rather than just die. And that was like Blackton's first recognition of like, oh,
wow,
there's something about this culture where there's something about choice and agency to the end, rather than just like die in some stupid random way.
Yeah.
Which it is very interesting. It's very interesting because it really makes you think about like your values. And it's like, and I think from a Western point of view, it's like, man, if you're alive, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter whether you're a coward. Whereas for this guy, it's like, no. What kind of life is that?
Yeah.
How is that even life, basically, to them? Right? My favorite character, though? My favorite character is a very weird character. Is Yabushige.
I liked him.
He's a horrible man. And the show makes it very clear from the start that this is a horrible man who takes pleasure in killing people and torture. But also he has the best reactions. I'm sorry.
And I think the way his character was portrayed, like, the way his eyebrows, yeah.
My favorite thing is like when he goes, oh man, it is, yeah. And then I love the fact of, like, again, another little detail. He kept changing his will.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the end, and the show doesn't draw a lot of attention to it, just like drops it.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he does the final will, and he's like, yeah, I think I'm happy with this one. But like, the fact that he keeps doing his will, what does that tell you, right?
That he knows that death is just around the corner.
You get?
Yeah.
Every time he did the will was literally because, okay, we're
the fight is coming. Yeah, what is coming?
This might be it. This might be it.
What is coming? Might as well get ready. Yeah.
And there's a bravery there that I hope to have.
In what way?
Right? Like, just the idea of like, not facing death with terror and like, but like with a certain confidence.
Live honorably, yeah.
Yes, with honor. Like, does honor matter? Honor is not even a word we use anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, Like, really, who says honor anymore? Like, period. And that's interesting, right? That is something about our world and the way we value things.
I think it's because we moved away from the collective. We're all pursuing that individual, happiness as it were, not knowing that.
That's a good point, because honor is a collective thing, isn't it? Honor is only honor
if you share with somebody else,
community.
Yeah, because otherwise, why you honor? No, you cannot. You cannot. With this whole pursuit of happiness and my truth, your truth, and all that, there was some form of comfort that I could understand the whole, you believe like what there's something I'm sorry, I said Parisa. Parisa is my assistant, by the way. There was something Mariko said about, we live and we die and there's nothing beyond. Yeah. That, of course, as a Christian, we know there's something beyond. But just that acceptance of...
And even for her, that's not true.
I know, because she's Christian, right? She became a Christian.
Because she says, what's the last thing she does before she goes to die?
I
mean, apart from the tea party, which we'll come to that.
I chose this? Or what was that?
No, when she goes to get confession.
Oh, yeah. And then even asking...
Why would she do that if
she believed that? Exactly. Or even asking Blackton to be her second when she wanted to
do it.
Fake,
yes.
Yeah.
Man, I've never seen love, by the way, just to say, I've never seen a gesture of love that was basically, I will behead you, is how I showed you my love.
Let me be the one to end you. I wasn't there when you were born, but let me be the one.
I wasn't ready for it. But it was still so romantic, right? It's so it works.
But you can see the pain. You can see the pain in Blackton. Even though I don't understand this, I would do it.
But I know it's important to you. I know this is important. But that's what love is, right?
I hate that love, bro. Can we just be alive and just ride off into the sunset together and,
Yeah, that's the sunset. The sunset is death. In that time and place.
Man.
That was her riding off into the sunset. And it was like, oh, he loves her and she knows he loves her. And like nobody else. And like the guy that was supposed to come, who was the guy that was supposed to come again?
Those cowards, yeah.
Yeah, and then it was him that stepped up. And the fact that she knows he's so against him is also like, in that moment, she knows this guy really loves me. That he will go against even his own morals.
Compass like this for me, yeah.
To do this, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Let's talk about Bushido. Oh, sorry, go on.
Ishido. Yeah, we can do that.
Bushido.
Ishido?
Buntaro, sorry.
Buntaro. No, Ishido. Oh, Buntaro. Of which I saw the guy.
Ishido is.
Yeah, don't say Bushido. I'm saying Bushido. I know Ishido.
I'm mixing up Ishido and Buntaro.
I'm saying, what's this person talking about? Buntaro. Do you know this guy is so handsome, by the way? He's like
handsome.
I saw him with hair. And I'm like, I actually did not recognize him. I had to go find him. Man, that was a pain character. I felt sorry for him.
In a lesser show, he would have been an annoying, bratty type of character. But in this show, you actually empathize, even though he's abusing his wife, even though and this is what I love about the show, like somehow the show still makes you feel
the complexity of character. Yes. Because imagine him, he was stuck with the wife of the child of someone that has been, condemned because, what her father did in killing Rory's father, that put her family almost like, they were cast down from grace. And so for him to be stuck with this person as a wife, I felt for him.
He loved her.
I know he loved her.
That's the weird thing. Like,
but imagine your wife asking you, please, let me die. And your goal as a big man, as a warrior, look at how he fended off all of the warriors that wanted to kill him. And he still survived. Your will in life is to bend your wife to just something that was malleable enough. And he still never got that. Even in her death. Come on, man. And then, which by the way, it also puts, doesn't it? It puts what Blackton did for her, or what was willing to do for her in that moment, was what Buntaro was never willing to do. Exactly.
Like when Blackton stepped into second her.
Yes.
That was literally contrasting him, wasn't it, to Buntaro?
Because his love for her weakened him as a man, right?
I won't say weakened him as a man.
But weakened him as a man in front of Mariko.
Within the context that they were.
Yes. I'm not saying that the general statement.
I don't think it was that. I don't think it was his love for her. You know what I think? I think she genuinely never loved him.
And he wanted to control her too.
And obviously was abusive.
Yes.
And, you know, and I think she had a certain level of respect for him, but that was all she could find. Like, I think that was about as much as she could muster. And like everything, it was like, and I think part of why he was so jealous of Blackthorn is he could see that Blackthorn got to a level of defense that he never got to.
Yes. And he knew it because he went to go and report to Toranaga, like, you know.
That's not even subtextual. That's textual.
Like he really wanted, like even accused her of, you know.
It's like she's always cold to me, man.
Yes, yeah. But with him it's different. Yes. Yeah. But and this way, he didn't even know that they already had sex, so by the way. He didn't know. Imagine if he knew.
He didn't know.
Imagine if he knew. We die today.
He didn't know. It was you felt for him. Because even with the abuse, like as abusive as he was, you could see how within that context that would have been normalized to a certain level. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
Which doesn't make it okay, but it's like what kind of person could he have been in a different time and setting?
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully wouldn't be like that.
You know, one of my favorite interactions they had was actually their very last one. When
the tea party.
Yes.
Oh, that tea party scene was, oh my Lord. Oh.
Did you see?
Oh.
Okay. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Even the way the tea was being prepared, there was a lot that was being communicated in that.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know everything that was being communicated, but I know you could tell that this is meaningful on layers. I wish I had
a Japanese person here to kind of, you know, because
I do know from the podcast that there was they had to get like a consultant for that tea ceremony.
Yes.
And like part of it was also like Buntaro is actually this very skilled man, and this is one of his skills. Is like a samurai must be able to do this, was able to prepare tea well. Like, because like samurai were like this very interesting sort of person, right? Like they had to know poetry as well as know how to fight. It was like they were actually cultured. Like they were not just like muscle. Do you know what I mean? They were like a true samurai must know poetry, must know how to prepare tea, must know this sort of finer, you know, which is not what you tend to associate with warriors. This sort of fine art, so to speak, you know, calligraphy and all of this sort of thing. And it was just, and I think there was something about that ceremony where you can speak your mind, because that's the one time that she speaks her mind to him. And she's honest with him, and it hurts him. But it's like, I feel like she needed to say this thing to him, you know, and I don't know. It's a very moving scene. Like, what was that thing she said when she said, there was one bar she dropped in that line.
Which one?
Do you remember?
Which one?
About when she said that, when she said, I didn't want to just die to join my father. I wanted to get away from you, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was cold.
And you could see the look on his face. And then when she left that room, right?
Oh.
And the look on his face. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you what I did. There were some episodes that I turned on the narrations.
Okay.
Like the audio description. Like it wasn't just
like the one for like if you're
yeah. Ayomide,
I should have done that.
You should try watching it again. Because
I didn't think of that.
Welcome. And because it was me knowing
it will pick up so many things things.
The way it was even explaining just, you know, the movement and the things they were doing and the scenes.
Oh.
Because at the point I was just focused on just the main character, but there's some things in the background that I missed. The audio, and I remember Taiwo just saying, wow, it's actually different when you turn on the audio description. I mean, it's a bit distracting, don't get me wrong, because, you know, as they're talking, it's also kind of like layering.
Because it's for someone who can't see. You now have to be. You are seeing on top of hearing.
You're seeing on top of hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will be a lot of sensory overload. But if you watch it before, I can see how that makes sense, because you've seen it now. You're getting a layer on top of what you've seen already.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm gonna do that because I've
Try
been
it
thinking
again. Try
about
watching it
watching
again.
it.
Yeah, try watching it again.
Because it's kind of a show that I can just know. You just know that if you watch it again,
It's
you're
gonna
going
get
to pick up so many things.
more stuff. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
now that would make sense in context that you missed the first time around.
I agree.
Wow.
I agree.
No, that tea scene was. It was
intimate.
And I love the fact that
it was the most intimate I've seen.
He spent time on it. He didn't rush the show.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't rush the scene. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, it was intimate, and that's why she was. It's like this is the problem with intimacy, right? Like you don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know what truth you're gonna hear. Are you ready for it? That kind of thing.
And I felt like it also her character flipped in a way, because we had seen her be a bit more like she was always being in servitude. Well, serving Toranaga and then serving.
In a way, that was her showing him the things he had never seen. She came out beyond defense.
Exactly. And then talked. And then even almost like...
But it's like, you want to see what's inside the fence?
Yes,
you want to see what's in the fence, bro?
This is why we keep the fence, Yeah. Oh, man. It's a good show. It's a good show. Well, I want to talk about the Christianity thing, and how it was used, especially with the priests. They were not my favorite people. And just their thirst for political power.
It's nuanced because I've read stuff about it, and I've so for instance, it's like so just use like African missionaries as an example. Like it's easy to sort of, especially now, to like, oh, the missionaries were just like they were just a tool of the government, and it's like actually it was more complex than that, right? That in many ways missionaries actually held the government back. Right. In many ways, they were the ones pushing for education and pushing for things that the government was not really interested in doing. Like it was like, obviously there was often an element of ulterior motive, but there was a genuine desire to make a difference that actually often, and especially a lot of modern narratives where the impulse is to sort of like, oh, it was all rubbish in the past. And it's like, it was complicated. It was complex. And there was a desire to do good, even as there was harm happening.
Yes.
Right?
I agree.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there was also, from what I've seen, there was that as well with the Portuguese and with the church. So there was the element of power, and obviously there was the conflict between the Catholic and the Protestant churches.
Yes.
But there was also an element of, because they didn't really because some people have used the word colonize, and I feel like people just threw the word colonize around. They didn't actually colonize Japan.
No, they didn't.
They were trading with them.
Yes.
And Japan
were colonizers. Japan was never colonized, yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, trade is trade. Mm-hmm. They were trading.
But they did have some influences, though, because the church still had.
They had influences, and again, there was the missionary work. But again, a lot of that also had its positive sides. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I feel like I think the show was fair because it didn't portray the priests in the best light, but it also didn't portray them like.
And it was like it was just what it was. Yeah.
The Father Martin character was not a horrible person. And he's the one priest we actually get to see clearly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
And obviously, like, faith was also helpful. Like, Mariko found a lot of comfort and support in faith. So it wasn't like, oh, the faith was just like this horrible thing to her. It was like, no, it was actually something that she found strength in.
I'd have loved to see her conversion story. I'd have loved to at least,
especially because like it gave her a sense of belonging in a world that said she had no place.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yes. And obviously she learned Portuguese. The father obviously was very fond of her.
Yeah.
And in a sort of like you could see was fond of her, but you could also there was no attempt to ever like turn it into like a sexual thing.
No. Like he had respect for her.
You could see that if he was not a Catholic priest, he may have.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? But he was still faithful to his own vows, even as he was fond of her and respected her. Like, to me, there was a lot of good stuff there. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And then I think two things I wanted to draw from. I want to talk about Blackthorn, but before I talk about Blackthorn, let's wrap up this Mariko part of it. When
It's Mariko's show.
I know it's Mariko's show. Yeah.
I feel like people think it's Toranaga. It's Mariko's show.
No, Mariko. Because without Mariko, there's no Toranaga. Let's just because
Also, do you notice how? Let me tell you another proof that it's Mariko's show. Even after she dies, notice how her words
still
keep coming up in other people's mouths again and again.
Especially when Blackthorn realized that
Mariko finishing her poem.
Exactly. And then Blackthorn realized that I could have been beheaded a while ago because I already called for my death. But Sister Maria, who ended up being Mariko, was the one that saved him. And then he just paddled away
the woman's influence be continuing. It's
I'm telling you, even in her death.
Look, she ran this show. And it wasn't obvious at the start, but you realize when like, oh no. This is her show. This is not Blackthorn's show. And this is not even Toronaga's show. This is Mariko's show.
I was going to say that she always doubted, because her father sent her away. She got married to Bundaro and she was, and then that happened. And when her father realized that, her father knew what was happening. Like, this is going to happen. We're going to have to kill Rory's father because he became, psycho and whatnot. And she realized that she was the only one that was spared. And she'd been wanting to almost pay that honor back by going with her father. And she always wondered why her father didn't let that happen. It was I remember when her face just lit up. Something came out of her when Toranaga told her, oh, you didn't know? Didn't you know that this was your father's will all along? He planned for this to happen. And then almost like a cyborg, like a secret agent, just activate the word.
Toranaga is just evil.
I'm telling you, but she also saw it to the other dark side now. Are you ready now to play your role in life? Yes, I'm ready. All right, so that's enough about Toranaga. We'll come back to Mariko. Can we just talk about Black?
But she also does it in her own way.
As always now, because I feel like that girl, she knows what she's doing.
And I know, just say before we leave Mariko, something else.
But I'm still going to go back to Mariko.
A bunch of people were upset with Crimson Sky because they were still looking for the battle. They were still expecting
Which battle?
And I'm like, you're not paying attention to this show.
When Toranaga said no more bloody deaths.
No, the Crimson Sky for Toranaga was Mariko. People were waiting for a fight. Mariko was the Crimson Sky. Mariko was, and he said it later. He sent a woman to do what an army could not. So I'm like, I don't know which show you're watching that you're still expecting a battle. This is not that show. This is the show about people and relationships and how they interact and how it's like, anyway, yeah. That was just funny to me.
I know, right? No, I was going to talk about Blackthorn.
But you said you wanted us to talk about
Mariko was so
Blackthorn. Was it Blackthorn or
Blackthorn? Let's talk about Blackthorn. Can we just give it up to him? Like, my goodness, being able to adapt and survive in a foreign land, right?
Bro,
you go from a shipwrecked sailor to
as immigrants. We know his struggle.
I know.
We know his struggle.
Figure in a Japanese society. I mean, and it's even his gradual acceptance and integration. Only hope, man. I love how they did this role.
I think the best he got was tolerance.
Well, no, for him. He himself being able to just accept that this is barbaric, but is what it is. And no other.
No, but that's the thing. It wasn't even barbaric because in many ways the show also makes it clear that he was.
the barbaricness about no, but they called him that, right? Anshin. Before they gave him
it was actually very. The show had a lot of fun with reversing that thing of like. For once,
finally, the white guy is the minority.
When they say my guy should bath, it was like, wait, I bathed last week. You want me to bath 2 times in a week? And they're like, oh my god, we are bathing twice. This one is talking about bathing twice in a week, and then he's like, if you bathe twice in a week, you're going to get flux. Like. Again, literally attaching disease to hygiene.
Oh my goodness! And even when the bird, and they were like, "What's this?" So
I'm like, I was actually waiting to see which kind of soup is it that you want to make.
I have no idea.
Need the bird to be rotten. But like, I really am not getting this.
Even Fuji, like when she realized that. Because her husband had to die because he spoke out of turns, and then her baby was killed, and she realized that, well, you're giving me to this barbarian. And I was like. then she goes from all of that and says, I want to go and be a nun.
Kill me. Like,
just kill me.
Cuckoo, kill me.
Kill me.
What is this life? Have I not been shamed enough? Have I not suffered enough? And then, my favorite part was like, that scene near the end of, I think it's episode 3, when Mariko goes into him and they have sex.
Yeah. Did you have to go into him like that?
And then the next morning they wake up, and then there's that whole scene.
Yeah.
The morning after scene.
Yeah.
And then I don't think Blackthorn gets at that time that Fuji is not aware of this. She's literally in full support. And I love how it's like on one hand, it allows Fuji to keep him satisfied without her having to do something she has no desire to do.
Yes.
While the girl who wants him can have him.
Yes. And nobody has to know anything about it. But I will always wonder what would have happened if Toranaga knew about it. Maybe he knew about it.
Knowing Toranaga, he probably saw it coming because he knew how the connections and the dynamics.
Remember he said, "Oh, go and join them in case he wants to talk while doing pillow talk." That's when I started suspecting that this guy knew. Because it was almost like punishing her. This was after her husband came to report her, like, she's getting too loose, and he said, "Go join the barbarian in the tea house and talk with him while he's doing pillow talk."
Exactly. So I think my guy, he knows people, because the thing about Toranaga that he knows people. He gets people. He gets people on a very deep level. So it's like a lot of his genius is not like sort of strategy per se. It's more of playing people off against each other.
It's not really. He's a good strategist.
Because I had some friends who were very upset with him in terms of like, what's the big plan? I'm like, no, he's real. And again, he says this at the beginning that people are falcons. And that's kind of like him telling you his philosophy for the show. That people are falcons, and he says the different kinds of falcons they are. That there are some falcons you have to control. There are some falcons you can just send and just... Mariko is the falcon you can send and go. Whereas his son is the falcon that you have to keep an eye on. And so for him, people are just tools for his own goal. And it's interesting because historically, the character that is based on is one who started Edo, which is now Osaka.
Yeah.
Is it Osaka or Tokyo?
I think it's Osaka.
I think Edo is now Osaka.
Yeah.
And like, he literally genuinely transformed Japan, and he started a new era of peace for a long time. So he actually achieved a lot. But then the question is that, was the cost worth it? Like, do you know what I mean? And the show doesn't answer that question. It just sort of leaves it with you.
Sorry, Edo is Tokyo, not Osaka. Just confirmed it.
Okay. Yeah, so I wasn't sure. I know it's one of the 2 big cities, and I wasn't sure which one.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, it's like he actually achieved a lot for the country. He fulfilled his dream, but like at what costs? And like, is this like just the price of progress? Like, do you know what I mean?
I know. Can we also talk about his son? But boy, man.
I felt for the son because he's the classic. My father is great, and I
have to be great,
and I feel so small, and so I have to keep overdoing to show that I can stand beside my father. But all I keep doing is showing that I can't.
But you know what? His death was very helpful. I say this very carefully. Like, it had more use. Death. When he went to go and behead the one of the regents they sent for like peacekeeping, shot the cannon at the person.
When he shot the cannon, I was gonna say,
calm down now.
He was always, and then he used him. It was so easy to use because that's the other thing. He does not understand the 8-fold fence.
And his father warned him about that.
He's outside all his fences.
It's all in his feelings.
He's like the Drake of Shogun.
What's up with Drake?
It was so funny because it's like everybody, it was so transparent, and like even what's his name? Yabushige's son. Yabushige's nephew.
Oh yeah.
What's his name? It starts with O, I think.
Not Izu.
No, Izu is the name of the town.
The town, yeah, the lordship. Yeah.
Is awesome Ori. Ay. The one that was in love with quick lady Kiko.
I know, Kiko. Yeah. Kashi. Omi.
But yeah, even he, Omi, I knew you started with O.
Omi.
Even he was using him. There was that scene where he basically
Of course now.
so the
Use
and it
him
was
as
so
a...
obvious. Like anyone that was thinking could see through it, and my guy could not. It was just like, yep, this is we're
It's
doing
the
this.
immaturity, yeah. Even the father knew, like, you know, who.
But I
were you
felt
the
for him
one?
because it's like his insecurity that causes that behavior. And
Yeah.
to be fair, his father didn't really help. Like, I know his father cared for him, but he didn't really. He just kept criticizing him, but he never really. He told him what not to do. He wasn't very good at telling him how to do or
How to
showing him
do
how
it,
he was
yeah.
thinking.
I don't think it was really a
because
good
he was
father
too
like that.
concerned.
Yeah,
I
about
think
his grades.
He's a good strategist. So
Yeah,
he
but
was
not
so
a good
concerned about
father,
his
yeah.
strategy.
Yeah.
And to carry his son along would mean risking the strategy, which true.
I mean, putting his son's life at risk too, because, you know, that close proximity. Because everything the boy did, in fairness to him, was to get his father's approval. Everything he did.
Because he didn't understand his father's plan.
And his
And he couldn't trust his father's plan.
Even the friend didn't even know the father's plans.
But the friends trusted it.
They trusted it, yes.
But then also the friends had more, they've been friends forever. Like, what's the name? The guy that finally committed seppuku.
Oh yeah, that one. Oh man.
But again, it was one of those things where so much is not said. Because,
why do you think he did that? Why do you think Toranaga why do you think he did that?
I get it. So in that scene, it's clear to me from the scene and the way the scene is shot that this is not something they discussed. But the scene was basically it's friendship. It's the friend in that scene understanding what Toranaga is trying to do and understanding that this is the only thing. This would move it in that direction. That for how do I let me put it this way.
But Yabushige died.
What Toranaga is going to no, not Yabushige. No,
I know Yabushige died. I mean, that's also advancing the cause. Like, you know, Yabushige was like his right hand man. Did he have to need more people to die?
No, so I'll come to Yabushige in a bit. But I'm saying for that friend, it was more of the friend sort of getting that whatever your plan, I don't know what your plan is, but your plan depends on
follow you.
It looking. No, your plan depends on it looking like you've given up.
You've given up, yeah.
And these lords don't want to hear word. So to make sure that giving up happens, I'm going to put myself at risk. And there's this look that they share in that moment where they're almost talking to each other.
But then,
right?
Yeah.
And it's not that Toranaga expected him to do that, but Toranaga understands what he's doing. He understands what he's doing. Both of them get it, and nobody else gets it.
Man.
And so Toranaga doesn't respond, but you can see the pain
in his face.
And that's the thing. Like it's like it's not like all of these sacrifices he's making cost him nothing. Like he really hurt from losing his son. He really hurt from losing his friend. But for him, the goal is so important. Everything else is secondary, including those people.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, that shows the friend was a truly good friend. I don't know what to say about Toranaga.
No. Yeah.
But I think it does also say something, though, because it says something. Because this is the other thing I kept thinking. If you're the kind of person that can inspire that kind of loyalty, it says something about you.
About you, I guess.
Because Ishido, ain't nobody doing that for Ishido.
No,
okay?
no.
Let's be honest. So it says something. Like, do you get what I mean? It says something.
Yeah.
Like, this is why I'm harsh on Toranaga, but I also feel like it says something when people are willing to go this far for you. It says something.
Yeah.
It says something about what you've been to them and how they see you and how they honor you.
But you know what I was also thinking? I think with Yabushige, especially with his complexity of switching sides, that
Yabushige was just a survivor. My guy is
I know, but then it wasn't like that.
Any government in power. Ajib.
But I also felt like, okay, maybe I'm reading too much into this. When Blackthorn started influence, like when they started talking more and more, and remember there was someone saying, the time I was saying, I want to go with you wherever you're going. I felt like that was more Blackthorn, like, you know.
Is this after Toranaga sent both of them away?
Yes, now. And then he said, you know, wherever you're going, I'll go with you. Like, you know, I want to go with you. And I felt like he became less Japanese in my eyes and more of a survivalist, because you should have known that in this your system, life and death can easily, you know, be taken and given to you right away. So why were you so afraid of death? But then if I cast my mind back,
I think it makes sense because sorry, go on.
But if I cast my mind back, from the beginning, he's always been a shifty person. You know, I'm actually surprised that he didn't blatantly like, you know, betray Toranaga, because even the comments he will
because
make,
he's
like,
smart.
he will go like,
because he's
wait,
smart.
we're fighting again. Okay, I guess we're fighting.
Exactly. Like, so honestly, the way I see, let me tell you how I see Yabushigo. Yabushigo basically shows you that people are the same everywhere. Like, the fact that this is the culture does not mean
everybody wants to die.
Everybody's on board. People are still people. But a smart person like Yabushige basically understands that, look, you have to play the parts, right? You are still going to save your skin, but you play the parts. Because the truth is that it's not like everybody's not playing the part in the culture. They're just doing it with words, right? People say things without saying things, knowing that the other person knows what they are not saying. That kind of, like, do you get what I mean? So, like, all of this, there's all this plausible deniability where it's like, well,
it's a high context environment.
But I said it.
Yeah.
But you can't say I said it, so you can't react. So you have to react to something else, pretending that I didn't say that, but I know that you're reacting to what I said.
But there you go. Yeah.
It's high context doesn't begin to describe. It's like
very super high.
Context,
yeah.
It makes high context environments look garrulous.
Look like a child's play, like sandbox. Yeah. I mean, that was.
But I love the fact that, like, it shows like Yabushige is just somebody who, and that's why Toranaga is against him, right? Like,
yes.
Yabushige will never outwardly come out and say he doesn't support anybody. You know, he will just say things. He will say what works within the culture. Like, and that's how you know he's smart. Like, he's smart. He gets the culture.
He knows how to read the room. Yeah.
He knows how to read the room. My guy is a room reader.
Mm-hmm.
and you know, it works for him. Like, Toranaga knows what he's doing. And he knows Toranaga knows what he's doing to Alep. I don't know if he knows how fully Toranaga knows, but he knows Toranaga knows.
Oh, yeah.
But he also knows that there's only a limit to what Toranaga will do about it. You know, and he goes out in his own way. Like, I like the way he goes out. He goes out, you know, he goes out in style. Like, he's chatting with Toranaga, you know, he asks him the question, you know, and everything. Like, he's happy. He writes his death poem and he's happy with his poem.
Know. But I don't think he saw it coming, though. I don't think he really saw it coming at the end.
His poem was so him, though. Like, he doesn't have any of the gracefulness of Mariko's poetry.
Okay.
It's very Yabushige. It's just like harsh. I can't remember the poem now. Do you remember the poem?
No, I don't remember it, but I remember it then, but I don't remember it now.
Yeah. I just remember like how it felt. It felt very like rash, but like very Yabushige. It's like, this is a Yabushige poem. I can feel the Yabushige on this poem. Whereas Mariko's poems were like Mariko, very artistic, you know, very the wordplay, everything, the imagery. Oh, I love the use of poetry, by the way. That's something else I think we haven't really talked about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and then even Mariko's son, just that unveiling that she had a son all along.
Yeah.
That was shocking for me. Not shocking, but added a layer to it. Do you think it's going to be a season 2?
They said now that there will be. They said there wouldn't be.
They wouldn't, because the way they did, I'm afraid I might not live up to it. Because they might want to do that thing where they stretch and try to fix stories in between, or do like a prequel, or do like a bridge.
The other thing is that this season covers the show of the book. So the next season now,
it will be,
they are going off the book.
Yeah.
But then the question is that, are they actually good enough to go off the book? Like, there's a thing where you can do. This is a great adaptation. Like, it's one of the adaptations I've seen that is actually like impressive. Especially
for like a 12 episode, like not even like a whole, like, you know.
For the book that is covering, it's very small and it condenses a lot, but he does it beautifully.
Yes. I have a suspicion that they didn't think it was going to be that successful. That's why they kind of hurried everything through. And when I say hurry, I use that very carefully because it didn't feel very hurried.
It wasn't hurried at all. No, it's a very gentle sort of slow burn of a show. It's not a thriller.
No, it's not. It's
a drama. It's very much a drama.
Like heavy on the drama. Yeah. So, as we wrap up, any final commentary?
Hmm. It's hard to say because I guess all I can say is like you have to watch the show. You have to watch. It's a show that's worth watching. Question, by the way, I have friends who haven't watched it because of the violence.
What violence?
Well, don't use your. So I have friends who don't really watch any. Like there's beheadings.
But it's not so violent though.
It's not gory. I don't think it's gory. But I have friends who have not watched it, and I feel sad because these are friends that I think would really appreciate the artistry of the show. But it's so I don't know. Like, how would you sell it to people like that?
Maybe I'm not the maybe I'm not the type, because I'm still asking like which violence are we talking about? To just show you that this is kind of like you can follow those parts. So say for example now Game of Thrones.
And there's not many of them.
There's not many of them. Like the
and they don't really dwell on it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like there's a couple that they really
actually prepare you. They prepare
one of my
you for
favorite
it.
ones. Tolani, one of my favorite ones.
What's that?
There's one, there's that part when they meet. I think it's Ishido's people meet someone's people in the bush. They don't show the fights,
but it's just
they just show the meeting.
Yeah,
and then the next scene is the body.
Yeah.
There's just something about that was so.
Yes. Because Game of Thrones will never. Spartacus could never.
But there was something about that was almost more powerful than actually showing it.
Exactly. And the trees, the way they use the trees, the relative positioning of the bodies and the trees, and the colors and the gradients, and you don't even see a lot of blood, but you know it's gory.
There was that shot. I will never forget that shot. That was it's a beautiful shot of something that's not beautiful. It was good. It was, and then there was some really good shots of like the snow shots.
Oh yeah,
or the shot
Mariko?
Of Blackthorn putting the rock after the garden, towards the end of the show when he's putting the gardener's rock in place, and like he doesn't know what else to do, and it's almost like, I can't do anything, but I can tend to this rock.
And even the end scene when we see him
of the gardener.
Yes, when they show the scene where he's older and he has like surrounded by his grandkids, that was a bit confusing for me.
When he's doing what, sorry?
They kind of did like a flash forward when Blackthorn becomes very old and frail in bed, and then he's surrounded by his grandkids.
That's not his future. That's a potential future
for him,
depending on the choice he made. He didn't make the choice. So that moment when he chooses to die.
Yeah.
When he tries to commit seppuku.
Mm-hmm.
So if he hadn't chosen that path, that's the path. That's like it was a dream of where his life could have led if he hadn't chosen that path.
Oh, I see.
To take the chance and actually for once live for something more than just living. I thought that's what I thought it was, but then I'm sure it.
That's your interpretation too.
I've heard the showrunners confirm it.
Oh, really?
That's what they intended it to be. So I know it's not just like in my head.
So to your question.
The reason why I know it's not his future, by the way, just as there's something in there that is when they said there's a scene, there's something one of those boys says that contradicts what actually happened.
Yeah.
Which is how you know that's not the future he ended up in. Does that make sense? I can't remember what it was, but there was something I remember like, wait, what?
I think I need to watch that part again.
Yeah, watch it again. There's a line there that doesn't fit the actual path he took. Where they said something that they referenced somebody who actually died as alive, something like that or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or somebody who was alive as dead. I can't remember. One of the two.
I think for your friends who might be, they want to watch it, I'll say you just have to, like, it's a beautiful depiction of just life then, right? But I also think the themes it explores that feature things like, honor, loyalty, it's just so befitting for that time period. And while it does not shy away from the realities of those time period, like the battle scenes and confrontation, I think the violence, serves a bigger purpose in the storytelling framework, right? It's adding that authenticity to the historical.
It's not
gory. It's not violence for the sake of
just gory.
It's not campy.
It's not even campy. There's
shock and awe.
Yeah.
Shock and awe. Like, oh my God.
It's not frivolous violence.
It's not. It's meaningful. And they build you up to that, because when you are hearing the stories, as a matter of fact, after I'm like, seppuku wasn't even really that bad. Like, I started thinking, not like I was going to commit seppuku, but just putting in that framework, I could understand why people would choose to do that. So again, it's resonated a lot with, if you're a good historian, if you love history, you want to learn more about that, I would highly recommend it. The characters are well developed. Everybody played their roles. And I think it showed the grayness of what it meant to be human. I won't say there was anyone that was thoroughly good. There were some evil people there, like 100%. But even their reasoning, you could understand.
Mariko is as close to decent as you can get in that show.
Yeah, but she...
But I mean, I said close.
I know. If we were to put on a spectrum, yeah, she wasn't too far away from the overall good. But
within the context of the world she has to live in.
She had to live in, yeah. But because, my God, she survived. For as long as she did, she survived. And even her choice of dying, she chose that. She had a choice to have not died, but it was a role she played. Anyways, so that's just gonna be my...
She already had death in her mind all the time.
So. Might as well, choose how she wanted to go. Yeah. So that's just my 2 cents. This was really nice. I'm glad we finally. Finally.
No, it's such a good. It's probably the best show I've seen this year.
I agree.
The best season 3 is coming out, which I'm looking very forward to. I think it's coming out in 5 days. Have you watched The Bear? You watched The Bear?
Yeah. Jeremy Allen White.
And I cannot wait, because.
Did you ever watch Shameless?
Shameless? No, I didn't.
Mm-hmm. You can't talk about The Bear without watching Shameless. You just skip a lot of things. He was one of the Jeremy Allen White, played in Shameless. I knew him from Shameless. I'm actually very happy that he's getting the prominence in it, because he's such a fine actor.
It's a simple show. It's no Shogun, and I don't think I would compare it to Shogun in terms of quality and everything. But it's a simple show. Like, it's a show about a guy trying to run a deli in Chicago. That's it. That's the story.
Yeah.
But it's really not about that. It's about the family that they form, and the pressures of, and like the whole arc of what's his name? Richie.
I know, right?
The whole arc of, I cried in the second season when Richie gets to that point in his arc where he's actually like growing. Like, my boy is growing.
I like Sydney's character to Ayomide Debere.
Oh, I love Sydney. I love Ayomide Debere, and just like her whole like attitude to life.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Shogun on the other hand, though, like, it's like, I think it's still my best. I was mentioning The Bear because I was thinking it might be a close second.
Oh, so your favorite show
of this year? But like, I mean, Shogun came out early this year, but I really can't see what
anything that would top it. Calm down. You never know. Something could be coming.
Yeah. But it was, and it came out of nowhere. Like, I didn't know they were developing the show. I heard about it like a couple of months to it. So obviously, it's been in development for long before.
I know. Like, compared to for example, Bridgerton, where they always do like a huge guinea about it. This one has been, they haven't been very, they took their time, and it just came on the scene. There wasn't like an anticipation built around it. But FX, they've always been that way though. If you think about it.
No, FX, I mean, The Bear is also FX. Like, they got some good. They're like a small, well, they punch above their weight, I feel like.
Yeah. They remind me of what's the name of people who did Past Lives?
A24.
Yes. But on a different scale.
Yeah. And I think something I like about Shogun is, it's, for me, it's also an example of like why the Netflix model is not the best. Because a lot of people, because a show that drops weekly gives people time to get into it as the buzz builds.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Netflix shows don't get that chance. They come, they drop, and they're forgotten 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Right? Like this show spanned 2 months. There were people who found out about it 5 episodes in, like after the first month. And then they were like, but like that's advantage of a show like this because it builds the, like at the start, not many people knew about it, and you could see the buzz growing.
Builds. Yeah.
Week to week to week, you know, and by the finale, it was like people were all in, man. And I think I like that. Like the show gets a chance to breathe. Whereas on Netflix, I feel like a show just drops on Netflix and people talk about it for like a couple of weekends and then it's on to the next one. You know. Whereas with a show like Shogun, you know, you get your reactions, you get your podcasts, you get your breaking down this episode, YouTube channels. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't get that with, and I feel like Netflix started it as a time when it was necessary, and I feel like now they're just holding on to it as that's our brand. And I feel like they should go back. Like everybody's going back to dropping weekly, and I think there's something about that it's just better for the world. Because like I always say, like, when it's out, you can always still binge it 2 months later. Like there's nothing, nobody's stopping you. You can wait and binge after. But like we get those of us that want to watch it weekly get to watch it weekly and process it weekly and process it together. You know, like I wish like you had watched it when it was running, so like we could have talked about it every week. But I had a bunch of people that I was talking about it with every week, and that was so much fun. But like and that's the other thing with a binge show, you just watch all the 8 episodes,
and it's just I used to do that for like Black Mirror. Black Mirror, that was my stuff with Black Mirror. Like, you know, being able to.
This conversation we're having now, we would have had this conversation for each episode,
and then we'll have more to say. Okay, we need to find a show that will become replicable,
right? And then you'll be predicting it, and you try to figure out what's going to happen.
What's next?
What's happening? We could maybe try doing with the bear if you have time.
Season 3, maybe.
Yeah.
So who's asking if I have time?
I am.
You asking if I have time? I should be asking
By
that
the way,
question.
speaking of other shows, do you watch The Boys?
The who?
The Boys. You've kind of answered the question though.
No.
That's a much more gory show and one that I won't recommend to many people. It's about superheroes. If superheroes were not inherently decent.
Oh, it's on Amazon Prime.
It's on Prime.
Never heard of it.
It is it's basically like,
it's been around for 5 years.
Yep. Imagine if superheroes were like celebrities and they were horrible people and they were managed by brand companies and marketing agencies, and it's basically like using superheroes as almost like a metaphor for celebrities and politicians.
Is it DC or Marvel?
It's not. It's neither of them.
Thank God. Do you recommend this then?
Watch the first couple episodes. You'll know whether you want to continue. That's all I can say.
Well, you're supposed to actually give me your Apple login stuff. I thought I was ready, and you were laughing at me. I wasn't joking.
Okay. Let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk. Are we still on the call?
Okay, wait. Let me just end the recording. Let me just. All right, everyone. So that was a podcast with Bo and
Ayomide.
Slow response. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Oh, I don't want to do this again. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it like that. I thank you for joining us today as we gush about just gushed about this wonderful show that is Shogun. We hope we've been able to convince you to go watch it if you're yet to watch it. And if you watched it and we missed some, go watch it.
Hopefully you've watched it by this point because we spoiled everything for you. But still go watch it if you haven't, because it's still worth watching even if it's spoiled, because that's not the point.
And if you watched it and there's some things we left, like critical things we didn't talk about that we didn't touch on, let us know in comments and all that. And this has been a podcast. Catch you guys on another episode of More Sibyl Podcast. I'm your host, Mo. Bye.